When the going gets tough, the tough get going. How's that for a little inspiration here on what's going to be a tough day here on Wall Street? We're going to call it like it is here, folks. It's the unwinding of the AI trade, traded on the lows from yesterday. Name of the show is How Low Can We Go? We'll talk to Cameron Dawson at 8:35 and try and figure out this market here on pre-market prep.
The volatility right now is really incredible.
Wow, look at that consolidation on the upper right chart.
You know what we've seen this earnings season? Some of these expected moves get even more violent. This is why I have switched my strategy 10 years ago. And if you're chasing, you're in trouble.
All right, folks, trading down 35 and a half handles. I can give you the good news. We touched yesterday's lower. We're still holding it 58.21. The buck is down here. The buck is down. Wow, 84 cents here. A 2-day sell-off at 105.83. TLT, that's been green the last couple days, in the red today by 25 cents, 92.32. USO making a new low here, down a buck, 72.32. GLD trying to get back up to old-time highs, up 310, 269.84. SLV trying to get back on 29 handle, up 16 cents, 28.91. And Bitcoin, 95 yesterday when we were talking on the show, 84,115 today, down 2,200 bucks. I'm going to remove my charts. Dennis and Christian are going to come in here, and let's get our voice of reasons in here. Dennis, crowded trade getting unwound here on Wall Street. The old mute.
The old mute. Good morning, guys.
I don't have controls today, so everything's weird. So they automatically mute you as you come in. I didn't know that.
That's an unforced error. Unforced error.
I'm coming in as a guest today because I didn't have controls here, so we got to figure that out. I'll ask my controls. But anyways, I was going to say it's been great for growth investors for 2 years straight up. Growth stocks, value sucks. Warren doesn't have it anymore. All those commentary, you just buy these stocks, trading 50 times sales, and they go to 150 times sales. I mean, that's been the way it's been. Well, eventually that trade comes off, and that's what we're seeing here. If you're all growth, leveraged on growth, you're being rightfully punished. You've stayed too long. I mean, it's just got to ridiculous levels. So, stocks like Palantir just got stupid. Bottom line. So, I mean, it doesn't mean it can't reinflate. It doesn't mean it's over. But at this point in time, everybody's trying to hit the exits at the same time. So that's where we're at.
So is it Turnaround Tuesday or Tariff Tuesday? What do you guys got? Or Taco Tuesday? Maybe it's just Taco Tuesday.
Let's just call this. Again, I'm going to reiterate and replay what I said yesterday. This is the dumbest market that has ever existed. This is the market that prices in nothing. On the weekend, on this last weekend, Trump said the tariffs are going in on Tuesday. The tariffs are going in on Tuesday. What do we do over the weekend? We rally. What do we do Monday morning? We rally. Oh, yeah. EWC ripping higher. This is awesome. Yeah, man. Awesome. And then at 2 o'clock, he gets interviewed, and he's like, are the tariffs going in tomorrow? Yeah, they're going in tomorrow. He just reiterated what he said, and the whole market tanks and implodes. I mean, come on. EWC, bring it up. He spelled it out for us. Spelled it out. You got to take the obvious trades. I know you want to start with the futures, but, EWC.
No, I got it. I got
50 cents in the morning. What are you guys doing? Who's buying that? Dumb Money's buying that. Boom. Tanks. He spelled it out. Sometimes you just have to listen. I mean, everybody thought maybe there's going to be this last second deal. They're going to kick the can down the road. That was possible, but he already did that once. So is he going to do it again? Probably not. So the tariffs are in. Canadian stocks go down. Obviously, China, they're doing countermeasures here now. Full-on tariff war here now. So this is what tariffs are going to be all about. As the tariffs get more aggressive, stocks are going to go down. If he backs off on the tariffs, the stocks will rally again. So now we are very dependent on what Trump is saying. So just watch your headlines, Because like Christian has said before, if the markets really start to get ugly, he'll start to calm down on his talk. He'll start to back off. So, I mean, we got to watch that too. I don't think the bull market's over. I don't think the bear market's over. I think we're going to have a lot of chop for a long time.
All right, so I thought that this was kind of interesting. I mean, I've been continuing to watch what Nvidia does because I don't know if it's the tail, walking the dog in terms of tariffs, or if it's just basically straight risk off. Because if you look at Nvidia yesterday, like even before Trump started to speak yesterday, the stock was already down about 6-7%. Look at the first half hour of the day yesterday. Nvidia was trading around like 123, 124. Stock fell $6 in the first 30 minutes. So, what this tells me, and you guys correct me if you think I'm different, but there is still a lot of longs in these stocks for fall $6 in the first 30 minutes yesterday. It just tells me that these move ups right now that we're seeing in the market, and after Friday's big month end MOC, folks are taking advantage of this and they're saying, "Get me out of these stocks." I think that we've got a major. I agree with what you're saying. I think that we've got a major unwind in the AI trade, which is also kind of carried over to the overall growth trade.
Yeah, everyone's in the same stocks. Everybody is piled in. You can ask everybody. They were like, well, Nvidia's getting lofty. Do you own it? Yeah, I own it. Everybody owns it. There's no sells on it on the street. I believe there was 0 sell ratings. 0. I think it's something last time we looked was 49 analysts covering, like 3 holds and 46 buys or something crazy like that. It's unbelievable. Everybody on the same side.
It's 68 buys, 8 holds, and 0.0 sells.
The whole world is a bunch of lemmings. So it's coming off. So what? Is it over? Is Nvidia over? Is the AI trade over? Probably not. But I mean, they're all coming off the same time. Is there a point in time where you buy stocks? Depends on your time frame and your positioning. I'm going to start nibbling into some stocks. If you're sitting on a lot of cash, you probably should be nibbling on some stocks. Am I buying Nvidia at 110? I sold it 3 days ago, 133 before the earnings because I was nervous about the earnings. Earnings were okay, held through that okay, but obviously tariffs are not. I don't know. You get down to $100 on Nvidia, probably, start nibbling back into it again. But again, valuation is not cheap on this. We've talked about this too. Christian, the biggest problem we have here is the market is really expensive. So you don't have valuation support on any of these names, like Palantir. Where's your value investor coming in? Like, all of these growthy names that are just trading with no profits. It's tough.
Well, I'm gonna give you a stat from yesterday that's gonna blow your mind. So first of all, what was the S&P down yesterday? Down like 1%, was it?
Yeah, that sounds a little bit more, maybe.
Do you think that I'm trying to phrase this question, but okay, I don't think I can phrase the question correctly, so I'm just going to give you the stat.
Okay.
4-week new highs yesterday versus new lows. Do you think that there was like a huge amount of new lows yesterday?
That's probably the same stocks.
There was 125 new highs in the S&P yesterday. So 25% of the S&P actually made a new high yesterday. Now,
that's impressive.
Again, that's just taking like where we were at, any point yesterday. It's not necessarily how we finished, but still there was 125 names that made a new high yesterday and 106 that made a new low. So even though, let's see what the S&P was how it finished exactly yesterday. But to me, what that tells me, the S&P finished down 1.8% yesterday. That tells me that there is a huge amount of rotation that is going on under the hood. And the big cap names, which dominate, a market cap weighted index like SPY and like Qs, are really bringing down the market overall. And I'll just add this last thing and then we can move on. But the couple of ETFs that I've been talking about, SPLV, which is low volatility equities, was actually up 0.7 percentage point yesterday.
Probably going to be up again today.
Are flocking to value.
They are. And that's what you're seeing. And we've seen this before, but this is not something that just started yesterday or the day before.
No.
Value's been good all year here, Christian. This was a calendar effect. We talked about seasonality yesterday. This was predicted on this show that at the calendar turn, a lot of times you see laggards to leaders and leaders to laggards. That has continued for the entire year so far. Sometimes it's a 2 or 3 week phenomenon. That has not been the case. We've had obviously, and even just think about, what was your acronym, Joel? You had punt. You were going to sell Palantir. What are the other ones in there? I just wanted to check that. Palantir.
UAL.
What was it? UAL?
NTRA.
NTRA, that's breaking down.
Break it down now.
And
you were going to do Tesla. You wanted to do Tesla, but you didn't want to tick me off. But then I've turned on Tesla too. So it was really Tesla. What was the fifth one though? When you
I said Costco, and that I've been wrong on.
Costco is holding up because
I want to sell
it's
Costco.
defensive.
I can't believe. Well, it's not. It's a high valuation too. I don't want to look at it. I can't look at it anymore. I can't look at that one.
It's defensive,
it's a
though,
pick,
and it's also that non-tech QQQ. The non-tech QQQ stocks, fun exercise here, because we talk about, when they're selling the Qs. You want to go through a few of these on the charts. I want to show you something because I talk about ETF effects. Costco is in the Qs. It is non-tech. It is sitting near all-time highs. T-Mobile, I'm going to say T-Mobile is more of a carrier and not a pure technology. New all-time highs. Cisco has been holding up well. I don't know why they put that one in there, but Pepsi. So we'll move on from Cisco. Pepsi's not new all-time highs, but holding up very well and doing very well. Honeywell is another one that's non-tech. That one doesn't fit the bill because it's kind of down. Amgen's another one. I recently sold my Amgen, but that's been moving higher here. I should have did this ahead of time because I'm just going through some of them. Comcast, but as you can see, there's a number of these stocks. Unbelievable. My software just crashed. There's a number of these stocks that are non-tech QQQ that are doing very well. So to Christian's point, it's not a sell everything market. This has not been like, oh my gosh, sell it all, we're crashing. This has been rotation station. Out of the leaders, out of the growthy nosebleed valuation names, into those stocks that got PEs of 10, 11, 12, 15, staples have a higher PE, but they were beating up your Johnson & Johnsons. That's where the money is flowing to, folks. That's where the money has been flowing to. That will unwind quickly too, though. So just be careful chasing those names now, because if all of a sudden Trump says something to prop the markets back up and growth starts rallying, they'll implode the Cokes and the Pepsis. So I think we just got to cool our engines on this imminent market crash here happening, because I see it all over Twitter. The people who are feeling the crash are the people who are just invested in all these growth names with no diversification. This, folks, you're learning the hard way why you stay diversified. This is why you stay diversified in your long-term portfolio.
Well, and this is what makes it difficult too, because these names are going up so much. I can't, I've been watching AbbVie go up. I've been watching Progressive, which I do hold both of those names in a long-term portfolio. But I mean, you can't buy these stocks here, because if there is some type of headline and which indicates, I'm going to think about dialing back the tariffs, these stocks are going to get sold and the other stocks are going to get bought. So it's a very tricky situation when these stocks are getting so overbought at this point.
That's where we're at, is, we were just simply overbought on all those growth names. People just buying, well, I'll buy Palantir, at the valuation because I just know it's going higher anyways, and who cares? Well, that's good until somebody actually starts to care. And I mean, the Bitcoin trade, maybe we can talk about this. This has come off in awesome to watch. I mean, this has come off substantially. I do own some Bitcoin in my long-term portfolio. It's not 100% of my long-term portfolio, though. So when it's 1% or 2%, you can stomach these losses. Stay diversified. But I mean, you get the Trump bump on Bitcoin yesterday. Christian, you get the nice big pop. It couldn't hold for a day. It couldn't even hold for the day. And now you come in and it's hammered here again. And people are like, what the hell? We're doing a crypto fund. Why is this down? It's because everybody is spooked and they all want the exits at the same time. And there's no valuation support on Bitcoin ever. There's nothing there. So, I mean, it's all a growth story. And when the growth starts to turn and the momentum starts to turn, everybody looks for that exit. They're like, hey, who wants to buy my stock? Well, all the other growth investors and momentum investors are saying, I want out here too. So that's the problem of just chasing and chasing. At a certain point in time, you could get caught.
I think that we are kind of overlooking something here. a little bit with the market, and we're talking about the market here, right? This is a market show, but I think what valuations and everything, I think what's adding to the chaos right now is the geopolitical situation.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, that you can't put a number on that. You can't put a number. I mean, another thing that hit the market yesterday was Trump like basically cutting off weapons to the Ukraine. That caused a big flush. I mean, so with all these things that we're talking about, like with valuations and rotations and everything, I mean, I think people are worried about the geopolitical situation, and there's a lot of things
All
that
of
are.
it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it to me that I mean, not my portfolio doesn't keep me up at night because I've never, I've missed the great runs and all these great growth
Well,
stocks,
we're
and
always
I've
diversified, Joel. I mean,
right.
me and you have some cash, have some bonds, which have been terrible. My
Yep.
long-term portfolio isn't up 50, 100% a year like everybody on
Nope.
Twitter. It's not. It's steady as she goes. I mean, I do trading. I think on my trading account, I think it was up 43% last year. Pretty good year. My trading account, my long-term investment account, I don't know what it was up. It was up like 20s or something. But I mean, it's lower beta. So, 20s when you got lower beta is pretty damn good.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I just, for me, I mean, and also the other thing I'm going to bring my chart back up here and, bring up the SPY. And I know we've done these exercises before, but is this like, can you really quantify? I know there's rotation and you guys are showing me. I mean, can we really quantify this as like a correction? I mean, when I look, if you bring this chart
No.
up to me, this is like, we're still like basically at all-time highs.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're only a couple percentage points away from those highs. So yeah, and another thing too, I'm just going to bring up is that I'm starting to see like people say, there's this bit about I see the AAII survey, which is I've never used that survey, and as long as I've been trading, it's been being quoted so much, it's gotten so popular over the last year. I've not, I don't, and I'll bring this question up to you guys. That survey, as well as I see CNN Fear and Greed, which I've never really used that either. I see people talking about, oh, these things are showing that there's fear in the market. No, there's not. In my opinion, we're not there yet. We're not now the VIX, and I think that this is somewhat encouraging that we don't have a gap up again this morning. We
Yeah,
actually have some
I think
red on
so.
the. What's that?
I agree.
Yeah. But have you guys ever used this AAII survey? It's
Never.
basically like I don't want to say for day traders, but I I don't like, and people are saying, oh, it's the most bearish it's been in like 20 years. I don't care because I've never used that and I've never seen that being a reliable signal of fear. I look at things like the equity put call ratio, which is showing no fear whatsoever in the market. And I think a lot of other things are just they're not there yet in terms of showing fear. And to Joel's point, we're barely off the high. We're a couple percentage point off the highs. So
It's the same crowd. It's the problem is in social media. They're all in the same damn stocks. They're all high growth names, growth, at all costs, and don't worry about valuation because all these stocks are going to be worth trillions of dollars. I mean, that's where all the money is. Like not all the money, but all this, the retail is really focused on growth. So retail is getting hit harder than probably your institutional trader at this point in time because your institutional trader is still diversified. So, I mean, I'm not saying retail is dumb. Retail's outperformed the institutional trader for 2 years. So, I mean, if you're going to be all growth, you're going to have hiccups. And maybe the story isn't over for these stocks. I don't think the Nvidia story is over. I don't think the Amazon story is over. I don't know if the Palantir story just maybe got to a level where it's probably, going to be hard to get back there for a long time. But, you never know. Like things can reignite quickly. And we have a very volatile administration, meaning we don't know what is coming next. There could be a deal tomorrow on tariffs and the market could be up 1,000 Dow points, like it could happen quickly here. So it's headline driven. We're nervous right now. I think to Christian's point, we're not even, and Joel's point, we're not even, really on the overall indices really down much here yet. Like I look at my long-term account, I don't know what I'm down. I'm down like 7 or 8% or something like that from the highs, maybe not even. I haven't looked. It might be less than that. I mean, this is not like a, oh my gosh, I can't look at my stocks. I'm like, they're still doing pretty darn good. And if you're a little bit diversified, you got a lot of stocks doing really good. So I think it's just a lesson in diversification. I think that's what the market's teaching us here.
Okay. All right. We do have some earnings stocks today, right? So why don't we get to those before our guest coming on at 8:35, Cameron Dawson. We're going to get her perspective on the markets, but let's talk positive here and let's talk about OKTA that reported after the close yesterday. OKTA did okay, 78 versus 74. Beat on revenues as well. Sales 682 versus 669. A little upward guidance here on both the EPS and the revenues here. A familiar trend has been to sell the rip in these stocks with the good earnings. I'll just give you the pre-market high. That will be, for me, a level that will be important to get through. And then we can get our fundamental and technical comments from Dennis and Christian. Pre-market high 101.92, so still within striking distance.
I shorted it on the bounce. I'm short from $100.25, and I'm like, why am I short it? I don't even care what the report is. It's just selling stocks right now. So I'm up 2 points in it, just blind squirreled, like blind nut. I didn't read the report. I didn't listen to the conference call. I just looked at how many stocks are getting sold after they rip up 15%. I thought maybe this is going to be the case too. I'm up 2 points in it. I'll cover it at some point this morning here. Do I take the 2 points and run, or is there more in it? I don't know. I'm still short.
Yeah, I mean it's in the bucket of growth right now, and the market doesn't like growth right now. So I think it's tough. I mean, if it holds the gains, or if it holds in here, then there's some real strength to the stock. But they picked a tough day. They picked a tough week to report earnings, and CrowdStrike is after the close too. That's going to be very interesting to see how that stock does.
Yeah, that's a tough one to report. It depends. Maybe we'll have a turnaround Tuesday and we'll be reporting into a good tape. The tapes change daily here. Let's do Target.
Okay, let's go to Target. I will bring the chart up here. That has been all over the map. Holy mackerel. Currently trading down 346. Let me get to the earnings for Target, which is, I'm not sure. Hold on. Go to my right system here. And Target, what did they do? Well, they beat 241 versus 226. Slight beat on sales and beating the estimate there. Showing like a good report, but just a tough tape to report in. Making a new low for the move here. So, boom. You were right at the low 120. That's going to act as resistance right now.
Bag holder central. You get pops on stocks in all markets. When stocks that are in downtrends rip on earnings, they often get sold. So that doesn't just apply to this market that all rips are getting sold, but that's like your core rip that you sell because it's just been a dog of all dogs. I mean, eventually, maybe there's a turnaround story here, but people have been trying that for a long time. It seems like Walmart and Costco just got it figured out, and Target is just lost at sea. So, I mean, stocks breaking down, captures a bunch of people long this morning again. Hard to get bullish this stock.
We had a great retail specialist on yesterday, Ryan Craver, and I don't even think we talked about Target. I think we talked about the stocks that he likes: Walmart, Costco, TJX, and I think we just skipped right over Target. Target just seems like it's just plagued by, I don't know. I don't want to say bad decisions, but it seems like they've always got something negative. They said they seized the year comparable sales growth around flat, and they're estimated to be 1 point plus 1.7. That's a miss, and probably why the stock is selling off.
Where do you go? You go to the monthlies on this, and your next monthly low, oh man, 105.23. That was back in November of 2023. So I'm sure we'll find some. Well, I'm not going to say sure about anything, but right now, yeah,
we're never sure.
I'm never sure. Right now, you just have a step down seller, volume increasing here on the downside. Just keep an eye, mark that pre-market low. Keep an eye where that pre-market low is. That's the only level that I can give you then in Target.
Michael Crockett wants to talk on. We want to talk on holdings as well. I'll give you the report here. ONON did report here this morning. It is popping on those earnings. Stock reported 38 cents versus 18 cents and 691 million versus 594 million. That's just, they killed the numbers. They absolutely rocked it. 27% growth target for full year 2025. This report is as good as it gets. As good as it gets. Fantastic report. If this was reported in a month ago, the stock would probably be up 20% on these numbers. But we're not in Kansas anymore here, folks. And even though this report was awesome, it is already leaking. That's how vicious this market is. This is the report of all reports. The stock was up 10% this morning, and now it's up 3%. Blindly selling the rip is working better than buy the dip ever did. Write that down. That is the market we're in right now. Blindly shorting the rip is working better than buy the dip ever did. It's unbelievable. They sold this one too. There's no reason to be down. The earnings were awesome. Everything was awesome about this. I'm not selling up 3% here and shorting this rip because like is a really good numbers, but I wouldn't be surprised if it goes flat either because it's just kind of tapering.
Ah, boy, he got over 53 here. Pre-market high, 53.50. I think right now you got to be hoping for yesterday's high in this tape, 49.98. That's 50 cents away. So maybe if you get a turn in the market and you get through $50, some more upside on the downside here. I'm sure a lot of people that, were short into the report we'll be looking for that lowest close that you've had in quite some time at 47.65 or 47.85, and that's 30 cents off the low from yesterday at 47.55. So there is a look at on. Let's stick with the retail sector. Boy, stock we don't talk about much at all. Best Buy here trading down 84 cents in the pre-market. Best Buy, what did they deliver to Wall Street? Best Buy 258 versus 240. They beat on the revenues. Guidance looks
Little
a
bit,
little,
maybe light. Well, not really. It's
yeah,
in there. Guidance in line, I would say.
yeah. Increase the dividend a penny. Woohoo, woohoo. But once again, tough tape to report into.
Yeah, if you're buying the rips in this tape, you are absolutely doing everything wrong. If you're coming in and buying all the rips and buying all the breakouts and doing all that stuff, you need to reevaluate what you're doing and adjust to your market environment. That will work again. Don't throw those strategies away. Buying rips will work again. It doesn't work that often, but there's markets that it does work in when they're viciously momentum. Breakouts work great in momentum markets. This is not that market, folks. Breakdowns are working pretty good, but we've got to adjust to our market environment. So you need your core strategies. And if you're sitting with a pocket momentum strategies, it's tough tape.
Another stock I'm watching too for earnings because it is international. We know international has been doing better. Is SE, but that seems to be leaking a little bit too. And they had good results, but I think that's a stock that I'm going to be watching as we possibly stabilize. So I think those earnings were solid. Do you have those ones, Joel?
Sure. That reported overnight. So let's go to SE. SE earnings. It was actually a miss, 39 versus 40.
Oh,
But
sorry
they
about that.
Yeah, beat on sales. Nice beat on sales. 4.95 versus 4.623. So there's the report. Traded up 778. Where are we at? Wow, we spiked over one. Oh, wow, they got real excited. Was that a 4 a.m. print when you went to 140.80? Yep, I think so. No, that was a 7 a.m. print. Trading well above yesterday's high. I don't know. Just pick one of your daily highs in here. Right now, the next daily high that comes into play is 133.77. That was your February 24th, February 21st high. We are continuing the leak here. Yeah, we have just taken out the January 13th lows, or that's where we're at right now. Your January 13th low is 58.13. After that, you're looking under 5,800.
Yeah, it's a mess. I mean, that's where we're at here. And I think, I do think, though, don't just like throw everything. Like, I think if you're just coming in and selling stocks here, I can't take it anymore. I think on certain, it's hard to say because, like we were saying on SPY, you're not even down that much. So if you can't take him anymore on SPY, you could probably dump SPY. But I mean, there's certain stocks like the Qs. Like, let's look here. Bring up the Qs, 540 to 492. I mean, we went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in 8 days. We went in 8 days. This is incredible. In 8 days, we went from all-time highs on the Qs to what are we down now? Like 12%? That's a vicious little correction, 12% in 8 days. That's impressive, actually. So, I mean, I don't know. Are you coming in here now, you're selling? I mean, I still think we're going to be choppy. So I think you're going to get another bounce. Just like yesterday morning gave you another opportunity to lighten up. You got to kind of read the tea leaves. That was an obvious one. Like yesterday's sell-off should have taken nobody by surprise. He spelled it out. We knew the tariffs were coming in. You think the stock's going to rally on tariffs? Well, you're wrong. And you're being proven wrong, and you're losing money because of it.
Yeah, bring up IWM because that is showing a different story than
ugly.
We looked at the SPY, we looked at the Qs, and we're like, okay, not that big of a deal. A little bit more to the downside on the Qs, but the IWM has been getting smoked on that top.
Just a disaster. I'm long some IWM in the long-term portfolio, and I just vomit every time I look at it. I mean, you're looking at, an index that did it make new highs? It came dang close, but it didn't, I guess.
It did. Just
by ticked it.
Yeah, the hair
Normally
of its
almost had his rally.
Chin. Yep.
But these stocks, Christian, these stocks are going to get hit harder with tariffs as well. I mean, these stocks in here are going to be interest rate sensitive more so because a lot of them aren't making money. They're probably borrowing more. So if you get into an inflationary environment, these stocks are not the stocks to own. If you believe tariffs are inflationary, I think the market is trying to tell you that they probably are. This is not the place to be. So we can call for the Tom Lee catch-up rally here, but there's a lot of things working against them. There's not a hell of a lot of an AI story here, which has always been why they've been underperforming for the last 2 years. And then 2, they're super interest rate sensitive in an environment where the Fed's uncertain of where interest rates are going. I know the TLT's rallied recently, and that, a lot of people, would think that would help the IWM, and it might. But the reason TLT is rallying is more because the market is spooked and it's defensive. It's not that, it's a predictor of interest rates and obviously is the long-term rates, but it also is a flight to safety. IWM is not a flight to safety.
No, right now it's acting as a risk-off gauge, and both of those, TLT going up and IWM is going down. So that relationship is more when the VIX is not doing what the VIX is doing. When the VIX is around 15, then you could say, okay, IWM might follow what interest rates are doing, but not when you're above 20. The IWM is acting as risk-off right now.
Yeah.
It did make a new all-time high. I just looked on the monthly. It took wow, it wasn't up there for very long. In November of 21, it hit 244.46, and then just hit back in November again. It hit 244.98. If you're looking for support here in the IWM, well, you might just have to wait a little bit longer. Man, I see multiple low. I'm just going to go a range in this one because this is the way how the markets have been. But between 195 and 200, you have 4 monthly lows going back to May, June, July, and August of last year. If you're looking for a stopping point here in the IWM. So we are waiting on our guest, Cameron Dawson, who's going to come on. Can't wait to get her perspective on the markets. We get these little 10-point bounces here, but it just seems like nothing's sticking yet. I guess you just have to keep an eye on the tape. Isn't Trump speaking tonight? Is there? Am I mistaken?
Is he ever not speaking?
Yes, there is a speech tonight. I thought it might be the State of the Union, but that's not yet. But it kind of feels like one of those. I think he's updating Congress on so far his presidency, but I don't. When does the State of the Union? Isn't that's a
Well,
little
isn't that I thought that was usually in January, but we had a change in the administration, so I don't have the exact date on that.
Okay, so still waiting on Cameron. Let's continue on. A lot of stocks moving here. Let's just cherry pick a few of these, and start to do some technicals on, some widely followed names here as well. Let's do Palantir. Let's just talk about it here. I actually do have a day trade on. I'm getting killed in it overnight because I thought it was going to bounce a little bit more overnight, and it didn't, and I got stuck with it. Now I need to sell it, and I will sell today at a loss. But thoughts here, on Palantir. $80 is, the level. Yesterday's low, 78.58. Do you find some support there, Joel, or is this just,
I mean, you can give it a shot. I mean, it's
Yeah.
from a relative strength perspective. I mean, it's not down at yesterday's low, so 78, 58. So you're $1.50 away. I don't think it's hit it in the pre-market. So yeah, that's holding up. I wouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't want to be long, and if I had a long in it, I'd be hoping that low holds. It's good that it didn't. Relative strength yesterday is okay, and at 78.58. Wow, this thing really moves around, and Christian's moving average. We'll use that as potential resistance. The 50-day comes in at 86.43 here.
If Cameron isn't here, let's cue ticker time. So give us some tickers here, folks. We'll just jump right in and do some ticker time, extended ticker time, which would be exciting. I'm going to give you one more, PayPal, because here was a stock that was supposed to be the turnaround story, and it was starting to show some life, and it was up from 60 to 90. Well, don't close your eyes and look now, but it's given it all back. So PYPL, along with its brother-in-law Square, which is Block, which is EWZ, which is, I don't even, or XYZ, I don't even know. It's like, just moved down to. So same thing, 90 to 62. Both these stocks have lost their way. Is there any hope? Christian Fromhertz, I'll throw it to you. Are these stuff you're just staying away from at this point in time?
Pass. I'm staying away from these for now. I was watching again, just to not to labor the point here with what we saw in Bitcoin yesterday, but I was watching. Which I don't have a position in my trading account anymore. This is one I sold last week, and I was so mad yesterday because Robinhood was up. I don't know, it was up like 8% or something on the open. But look at the candle in Robinhood yesterday. They immediately, this is what, and I tweeted this out like first half hour of the day, how fast these stocks, Robinhood and Coin, were going down. So that tells me like I don't want to be in stocks that they start green like that and they get absolutely smoked. No, thank you. Let these things get unwound, and then we'll watch where the dust settles.
Do you see Coinbase 300 to 200 in 11 sessions? That's a quiet little.
Hey, we got some news on the tape. Sorry, Starbucks names Nordstrom's Kathy Smith as its CFO.
Oh, look at that.
I'll just put that in the chat.
Well, Nordstrom's going private, so maybe they're just getting rid of some people over there here. So big move for Starbucks. Starbucks has been doing all right lately. You want to know why? Tell you why. Non-tech Q ETF. It's in the Qs and it's non-tech, and they just blindly are buying non-tech QQQ components. So you got to know those ETF effects. You can say, oh, Starbucks is doing really well. Why? AstraZeneca doing really well. Why? Monster Beverage is obviously defensive there. But again, we got to know the rotations there. So Starbucks has been up and moving up because of actually the weakness in growth names, believe it or not. ETF effects, 101.
Okay, what is the price action here? You want to look at Starbucks?
Sure.
It's green. It's green, up 40. Wow, new, not quite an all-time high yet. Traded up 29 cents. Wow, one of the few stocks. Well, off yesterday's high. So we'll look at 117.46. If get a rally, getting a little rally in the S&Ps. So, Brett, why don't you roll the intro here? We have Cameron Dawson joining us. Okay, we are bringing Cameron Dawson to the stage. Cameron, how you doing today?
I'm wonderful, thank you. How are you guys? Little volatility to keep us alive, right?
Yeah. So I know you got a jam-packed schedule this morning, so we're just gonna bring you on and just give us your overall thoughts here. We were looking at a lot of stocks that are doing okay. Some stocks are not here. Why don't you give us a few minutes here? Give us your global macro perspective here.
Yeah, so our view coming into 2025, we called our outlook Great Expectations. And it was the idea that the market certainly had the potential to continue to move higher because of earnings growth and because of animal spirits and the hope of regulatory change, but that we thought that the downside risks were being underappreciated and underpriced. And it was everything from how high valuations were within equity markets, how tight credit spreads were within things like the high yield market, as well as the interpretation of what was going to come out of Washington. We thought there was a lot of what we called crowded complacency and the idea that you were only going to get the good stuff and none of the bad stuff along the way. So that led to a view of what we think is at least the start of the year, and we reserve the right to change our view as we move along, is this idea of a wide choppy range, given the fact that you hit a valuation ceiling and that there was a lot of potential for negative shocks. And so the conclusion from that is that for an individual investor, it meant that all of this talk about where's the S&P 500 going to end at the end of the year and single point price targets was far less important than what you did with the volatility along the way, because we really did think we were going to get volatility. So if we're looking at the market from a technical perspective today, you're starting to get to the point with where futures are indicating that you're likely going to flash oversold conditions, mostly in things like the growth and Mag 7 indices that have had the most degree of weakness. And the question will be is what is the gusto and the durability of the bounce once we bounce out of those oversold? Do we not hit new highs and roll over and start going into a short-term downtrend? I don't think that we can rule that out. Very different than the big rallies that we saw after every oversold condition in 23 and 24. And the last point I make is that the reason we are even entertaining the idea of rolling into at least a shorter-term downtrend is because momentum has been fading for the last 4 months. And really actually going back even further to about midpoint of the year, where momentum, if you look at things like weekly MACDs, had been trending lower, not making new highs as the market was making new highs, which just told you that this market was losing some steam under the surface.
Cameron, we've also been talking on this show about this rotation into value. So it's funny that, growth is really getting hit, and the growth investors, which a lot of retail traders are in, are really feeling some pain here right now. But you see the S&P, it's only 3% off all-time highs. And you see a lot of value names really doing well. I mean, Berkshire Hathaway has been one that's just seemingly making new all-time highs every single day. So it hasn't been this type of market where momentum is fading in everything. Momentum is actually growing in those other names. Do you think this can continue, or does eventually, where I say a rising tide lifts all ships? I don't know what is the other way, but a sinking market brings down all the ships eventually. Do you think the value rally is for real, and can it hold?
Yeah, it's an interesting point, because if you go back to a year like 2022, value won by losing less. And I think that we have to consider that as a potential outcome, that if we are truly in a growth scare, a real growth scare, then value will win by having less valuation to unwind versus growth. And that's what happened again in 22, which was a growth scare. And it's interesting that you pick up Berkshire. I would note yesterday, financials made a new relative high versus the market. Tell me any other growth scare we've been in where financials are making new relative highs. Yes, credit spreads are widening out, but I think that there is that notion of a rotation of leadership. And maybe that's why if you look at overall allocations to equities, they're not plummeting. It's been more of a rotation from one thing to the other. Put calls aren't spiking to an extreme level yet. They're elevated. So usually it will take something like growth really disappointing, or fears that growth will disappoint, to get people to outright pull money from the equity market where everything loses. So I would watch things like credit spreads and financials performance as a sign of what is the underlying growth fear of this market.
That's
right.
a great. Go ahead, Joel.
One quick one here. I know Cameron's up against the clock today, but go ahead, throw one quick one in there.
Yeah, credit spreads are going to be very interesting to watch because we're starting to see them widen out, and that's a great risk proxy to watch. So we've talked about value kind of catching up. Low volatility is also doing really well. What's your take on international? That's been outperforming very nicely. Do you think that is just more of a reversion to the mean trade because it's been so underowned and kind of forgotten, or do you think that there's really something interesting going on there where there could be some leadership developing?
Yeah, if you've been in a relative bear market for 15 years and you keep year after year getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper versus the US, we often talk about how valuation is not a catalyst, but once you get that catalyst, valuation is like the fuel on the fire. So if you're trading at such a discounted valuation, there's so much room to re-rate on just a little bit of a sentiment change or a little bit of a fundamental change. We think that in order to make a call of a sustained non-US bull market, you have to make a call of a sustained US dollar bear market. And I don't know if I'm ready to make that call yet on a dollar bear market. Be very interesting to see how the dollar trades through this tariff kind of conundrum. The Canadian dollar is actually stronger this morning, which is not what we would normally expect following the announcement of tariffs. So I think that it's a place where you need to be at least neutral. That's our current tactical allocation in the space, is to be neutral. And that once we get confidence that we think we want to make a call for a major US bear or US dollar bear market, then I think it opens up the door for a potential larger rotation into international, because to your point, Christian, everybody is underweight after a 15-year relative bear market.
Cameron Dawson, CFA Chief Investment Officer at NewEdge Wealth, joining us here on Pre-Market Prep. Thanks again, Cameron. We'll be speaking to you again real soon.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Thanks, Cameron.
Okay. All right. Market showing signs of life here as we did bounce off that January 13th low. We are above that low from yesterday as well here. Dennis, are you seeing anything in the stocks of now?
Yeah, well, you can look at SPY all you want and it just doesn't tell the story. And I've said this for a long time. SPY is just not a good indicator for what the overall market is doing anymore. And it's honestly, like before, we used to complain that it was too heavily, weighted. But there's just certain stocks that just, obviously that are doing really well. And to Christian's point, 125 stocks made new highs. Staples are all up. Utilities are all up again. I mean, jug stocks, Merck, Johnson & Johnson's trading higher here now. We've got a lot of those moving up here as well. So, they're under the hood. You can see some strength that's holding up SPY. But when you go and you just look at this growth trade here this morning, it's a disaster. Tesla's down 4% here. Nvidia is down another 3.5%. Affirm down 5%. Upstart down 4%. Go into Kathy's, ARKK, which, she was doing really well. People were giving her some love. That's all turned in like just like that. Back down $51, down another 2.8% here this morning. So, I mean, you're in high beta here. You're like, what rally are you talking about, Joel? I don't see any rally here this morning.
Okay. All right.
None ya.
No rally. No rally.
No rally for you.
At all.
You see other people do okay. Warren Buffett do okay. Now you
want to be bullish. People want to. They don't want to hear about the market going down. I'm trying to get the pom-poms out.
There's
here.
lots of stocks going up, but let's just do one more before we start talking about stocks going up. What about SMCI? I mean, here they get the filing out there. They get the pop on the filing. It goes from 43 to 55, and everybody's like, yes, here we go. Oh no. It is now given all of it back, plus some, coming down back to that 30 support. We still have not heard from BDO. I don't, the filing's out there, but I didn't see BDO say anything. I don't know if they're going to say anything or not. They got the filing out there. It would be nice if we actually heard from BDO, though. But regardless, I mean, this is your classic, news, sell on, buy on rumor, sell on news. And I did on SMC. I bought on the rumor that they were going to file, and I sold it on the news that they were going to file. And since then, it can't stop going down. $30, maybe? I don't know. Thoughts? This stock's a disaster.
Well, and look at what Dell has done since earnings too.
Awful.
I mean, it
I
felt
shouldn't
like
have
Dell.
rebought it. I did. Mistake. Wrong.
It felt like Dell tried to throw everything but the kitchen sink into that earnings report. They announced a buyback. I believe they announced dividends, and they couldn't get the stock to go up. And I think we talked about that on the morning that it was selling off. It was giving back. So I just think that again, I'm sorry to be like so negative, but I just think this AI trade, because Dell is part of that trade, is getting unwound.
I mean, and Dell at a certain point, if you believe in the AI trade, I bought more Dell at 100, and I'm like, oof, not good. It was good because I rebought the shares I sold at 119. So, it was nice that I lowered that cost basis down there. But I mean, now it's like, dude, 2 days, 93. I'm like, wow, that is called trying to call a bottom, and that is punished for trying to call a bottom on stocks, to Christian's point, that they're unwinding. So I'm getting punished, rightfully so, on the Dell. Long term, though, I just look at Dell and think, man, it seems like as long as you believe in the AI theme and you think like, there is going to be, and maybe competition is going to come in service space here, maybe it's going to come from different places. But the Dell PE forward basis is 10. 10, not 100, 10. I mean, the stock is cheap, and maybe it's cheap for a reason, but if there's an AI story attached, you're eventually going to get some valuation support on this. Valuation support is not coming for Palantir. It's probably going to come for Dell here at a certain point in time, though.
All right, Dennis, let's talk about one of your favorite stocks of all time, maybe going off the board here. Walgreens, Boots Alliance here, trading out a higher Wall Street Journal report, suggesting the company is going to go private with Sycamore Partners. Now, that said, they said 11:30, 11:40, a little bit of a discount here, Dennis, trading up 51 cents on that news. Well, I guess it's good news if you're
well, is it news or a rumor? I didn't see
rumor.
News. I saw a rumor that it was going to be. Wall Street Journal suggesting the company is near a deal to go private. That is not news. That is a rumor. So Wall Street Journal very much breaks stories all the time. Very great source. Could they, all of a sudden, be off the board at $11.30? Yeah, maybe. Time value of money is a consideration here. Deals, and I think WBA as a standalone business is in a whole lot of trouble. So, I mean, they need this deal. Am I coming in and buying this at 10.78 thinking I might get 11.30? 50 cents upside and deal doesn't go through, a lot more downside? I don't like the risk reward. I'd stay away.
Wow, look at CVS holding that gap up after earnings.
Defensive. I love the themes, folks. It's all about themes. That is how you day trade. That is how you trade, is understanding the themes that we're in. Look when it turned, Joel. When did it turn? When did CVS turn?
Well,
it's not rocket science.
Beginning of the year.
Yeah, beginning of the year. Leaders to laggards, laggards to leaders. It went down from 60 to 45 in December because they hated everything value. Why would we buy a value name when we're going to buy Palantir and double our money in 2 weeks? Why would we buy that name? We're not Kansas anymore. All of a sudden, those value names don't look so bad. All of a sudden, those dividend stocks don't look so bad. All of a sudden, defensive names don't look so bad. I don't know if I'm buying CVS up here now. I think you're coming and buying CVS now. 45 to 65 is a ridiculous move for this stock. I'd probably sell it at this point in time, but that's the reason it's up. It's defensive.
Okay. Other stocks, other defense. I just looked at UNH, and that's just had just a lot of bad news. That hasn't really been able. Well, it's starting to get into that gap area. Did hit some monthly support at 450, getting a little bit of a bounce, and then just look at Humana. Still near the lows, but a lot of things. I guess it's with the new administration, a lot of unknowns with these stocks.
Hey, Dennis, what are you seeing in terms of imbalances this morning?
Sells cross board. Bank of America, 331,000 to sell. Citigroup, I have a long in that day trade. Not pretty. 121,000 to sell. Shopify 50,000 to sell, Oracle 52,000 to sell, IBM 43,000 to sell.
Seems a lot of growth, right?
Walmart 186,000 to sell. That's significant. I mean, Walmart could be trading a bit off Target as well because Target's down, so that's probably why Walmart is getting hit here too. But it's selling balances across the board. People are spooked. They're selling. I'm not selling anything out of my long-term portfolio here right now. I just watched the market just go straight down for a week. I mean, I think the opportunity to sell was into the spikes. Like yesterday when we were tweeting, yesterday morning, opportunity to maybe sell a little bit. But I'm not coming in here watching the Qs fall 15, points, so 3% a day, and thinking, what can I sell? I'm thinking maybe I want to buy some stuff. So if you're long term, you're sitting with like 50% cash or 60% cash right now, I think you put some capital at work. Nibbles.
I mean, I think also, just as kind of a greater thought for today is, we're watching the VIX right now, which the VIX did break the recent highs. We got up to a VIX this morning. I'm watching like 2470. So we're now we're getting away from that like high teens to like around 20 VIX. And now we're going to the next level in the VIX. And that means stocks are going to move a lot faster. So I will be watching. I want to see a day where the VIX goes higher and then it closes much lower. Until then, I think, cash is a position. Dennis, you had a great month, relative, to what the market did. I did not have a good month for last month, but that happens to me from time to time. And, I had a little bit too much risk on and I de-risked, quite a bit. So I don't have to worry about that anymore. And now I can just kind of, and by the way, like whenever I do that, whenever I've got a decent amount of swing trades on and I take off positions, it allows me to just breathe very easy and be very relaxed into a market. So, I'm sitting with a much bigger cash position. And I'll just be waiting. I do want to see things get a little bit more extreme to fear. And Cameron mentioned too that I watch the equity put call ratio. I want to see everybody start to go nuts with puts, right? I want to see a lot of puts on the tape. That's when, people are starting to panic. We're not seeing that yet. We're just not there yet. And so, watching these two or three things outside of like just straight up stocks, the equity put call ratio, the VIX, a couple things like that. That will tell me that volatility is subsiding a little bit and that we've gotten too extreme. But I just don't think that we're there yet. I don't think that the big enough fear has gotten in the market yet.
I don't think there's that much fear. I think there's fears in pockets, and that's it. And I think the fears in the pockets is moving to defensive names. We have not seen this market where sell it all, I'm done with stocks. Not even close. So I'm still of the opinion. I'm still looking, at dips to buy. And again, I'm not a momentum trader. So, I just trade relationships and I trade levels. I learned from Joel a lot of years ago. He come down to a level first time. A lot of times it bounces. It depends the type of market you're in, though. If you feel like we're in this raging bear market and Trump's going to end the world, I mean, that's a different story. I think there's going to be Trump dumps, Trump pumps. There's some Trump dumps here in the last day or two because of tariffs. But there'll be Trump pumps in the future here as well. We saw that with crypto. And we saw that over the weekend here. So I don't think the Trump pumps are over here either. I'm, as a trader here, I'm probably buying dips. Now, again, you got to do it selectively, though. And you can't just I'm going all in. I'm going to go on margin here. You nibble here, you nibble there a little bit. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
We were asked about Unity here in the ticker time. We could just stick a couple in here. Down 53 cents in the pre-market, coming off like with the rest of the market. Boy, I love to see this down. It's down at 22. That's where you popped out after earnings. You got a small gap to fill. That's another buck away. So I'd look at that. I'd look at Unity down at 22. Someone also asked about Goldman Sachs here. That's one financial that's been getting hit, but that had a nice run. That's traded down $6. That has an earnings gap to fill as well. And the last one, unless you guys want to do a couple more, look at the trade desk. That had the bad news. I can't remember. Was it like a federal inquiry or I can't remember what it was, but boy, oh boy, they're taking that news at face value, making another low here. taking out a monthly low
When
at
you
66.56.
guidance and gap down, those are not getting bought. So let's just, say, there are dips to buy. The one dips to not buy are on the guidance cuts. They are not working at all. So, sometimes we're getting macro dips, but it seems like, even on the bounces, TTD is getting ignored here. So I think we need to very much state that when you're cutting guidance, and I believe that's what TTD did, if I'm remembering correctly here, there's no bounces. And then you got to think, where's the valuation support? TTD is still trading 60 times forward earnings. So your value investors are saying, hey, we're down here $25 if you want to come down here. For real, that's where the value investors are. But, the growth investors could get the story back. I don't think it's going to $25, but I'm saying that's where value investors would back up the truck and start supporting the price. There's no valuation support here. This is an issue.
It was earnings, and then there was some securities fraud allegations too. So.
Well, that's not good either. None of that is things I want to buy dips on. I want to buy dips when the dips I'm looking to buy are when you've got a pretty good story and it's just been dragged down by overall market sentiment. Those are kind of the ones you want to look to more. Not little core stories where, the stock just reported, whatever you just disaster or accounting deficiency or anything like that. I stay away from all that stuff. So TTD, these are not the dips you're looking for.
All right, final thoughts here, Christian, on this potentially 2 o'clock turnaround Tuesday.
Yeah, kind of covered a couple of those things. I'm definitely watching the VIX, but I'm just I'm okay just kind of sitting on the sidelines a little bit and watching what happens here in the market. I'm not in a rush. It's still, by the way, like we just started March. Like, in my opinion, don't be in a rush. Be calculated with what you're doing. You can, like as Dennis mentioned, like it depends on how much cash and what your time frame is. It's very much about your time frame too. And like, hey, you could, that's what your 401k is supposed to be doing, by the way. Dips are really good for adding money to the market. That has been what's really worked over time.
Yeah.
Of course, if your time frame's a little bit shorter, then that's why I'm being patient and so forth. But yeah, just quick thoughts.
Yeah, great point. I mean, it depends on your.
We got some positive news out here. I don't know what the hell it is, but
Trump probably said something.
Yeah, we just got like an 8-point
a little bit there
here. Yep,
yeah,
a little bit. Not sure
but again, I think Christian's making a great point. Long-term investing, I'm buying dips. Am I buying dips in the trading account? It depends. Like I don't like catching the falling knives as much in the trading account. I did a little bit of it last night. I'm getting punished for it, folks. I'm probably going to lose money here this morning. So I mean, trying to be a hero isn't always the best way. But long-term, you got a long-term outlook. Start looking at stocks that are reasonably valued. I mean, at a certain point in time, Nvidia is going to be a buy. At a certain point in time, Amazon's going to be a buy. They're great companies. Valuation, like them a little lower. If they got into the 20s, it'd be really good. I don't think that's going to happen, but if they do, I'd be ready to strike.
Okay. All right. We'll wrap things up here. We've about 20 handles off the low, but a lot of things are still trading on their lows, as Dennis has pointed out. So check just the way things are shaping up right now. Check your pre-market lows. Use those as a potential support area. And then on a day like this, we've already had a 72 handle range, if I can do my math correctly. So halfway back on the day, that would be 36, 48, 48, 48. You could be there in a heartbeat with this market. So thanks to our guest, Cameron Dawson, for joining us today. And we'll see. We'll see what the market gives us today or takes away from us. See you guys tomorrow on Pre-Market Press.